Okay, I think we're live. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the final day of the Make for Tomorrow Festival. And thank you so much for being here. If you've not been here before, welcome, as in welcome to everybody. Absolutely chuffed that you've joined us this morning. So also apologies if you have been here before and you've heard me say this 1,000 times, but hello, my name is Lucy. I work for Sussex Partnership Trust. I'm their Arts and Health Lead. So our service is called Make Your Mark. And Make for Tomorrow, we've been meeting weekly for the last couple of months for some extraordinary arts workshops and in conversations with actors and performers. And it's been a completely amazing couple of months where we've been connecting through art virtually. Yeah, it's been really wonderful. So Make for Tomorrow is a partnership program. So we've been delivering it in collaboration with some amazing organisations, one of which they're here this morning, which is very exciting. It's Hospital Rooms. They are fantastic. If you've not come across them before, do look them up because they just do some extraordinary work. They're completely amazing. They get into mental health settings and get visual artists, amazing visual artists in there, working with patients and staff to transform those spaces. And also then, so they've been curating all the amazing visual arts strand of Make for Tomorrow, and you can, if you've missed any of them, they're all up on our YouTube channel, so you can go and check them out, use them in your groups, do them with your family, your friends, on your own, and they're there as a really wonderful resource. And then we've had an in-conversation strand with some really brilliant actors and performers from the world of film and television and literature. So there's been some live conversations that have been happening. They're also on our YouTube channel, so do check them out if you've missed any of them. And that's been curated by the fantastic Arts Over Borders. They too are an amazing organisation, so do look them up and find out a little bit more about them. And behind the scenes, we've had CogApp, who are just great. They get all the links and press all the right buttons and all the technology to make sure that we can meet here in these virtual spaces. So this morning, hopefully you've already seen it. If you haven't, it is up on the Make Your Mark website where you can watch it whenever you want. We highly recommend that you plug in your headphones and listen, because the sound is an incredible part of this beautiful film that's been created by Sophie Clements, the amazing artist, in collaboration with some extraordinary individuals from 3 different places across Sussex Partnership Trust. So we're going to watch the film together this morning, but before we do that, I'm just going to hand over and give the session over to Tim Shaw. He is the co-founder of Hospital Rooms. He can tell you a little bit more about what they do and what he gets up to. And then we are so honoured that Julie Allen, who is an artist herself, and she is an art therapist working in the trust. She's been part of the team that have helped coordinate and get people involved in the making of this extraordinary artwork. So I'll hand over to you guys, and just let me know, apologies people in advance if I do press the wrong buttons, but fingers crossed, I'm the one pressing the button to share the film, so hopefully that'll work. But yeah, do let me know, Tim and Julie, when you're ready to see it, and I'll catch up with you guys at the end. Oh, before I go, do get involved. If you want to ask Tim, Julie, me, anyone a question, if you've got any comments, let us know what you think about this beautiful artwork. There's a little box underneath your screen which says ask a question. You click it, type in your question, and it will come through to us live. So Julie and Tim can respond as the morning goes on. But yeah, thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoy the film and this chat. All right, I'll see you guys in a bit.
Great, thank you, Lucy. Hi, I'm Tim, and I'm one of the 2 co-founders of Hospital Rooms. And I started the charity with Neve White, who's a curator, and I'm an artist. And we go around the country transforming inpatient mental health units with art. And we bring in these amazing artists, and they work with the communities, the service users, to rethink how art could be useful in these places. Over the last couple of months, we've been really lucky to work with Make Your Mark and Arts Over Borders and Sussex Partnership Trust and CogApp to do this amazing Make for Tomorrow program. And this festival's been a wonderful final week where we've shared a lot of what's been made. And one of the things we're most proud of, and actually most proud of in our entire 4 years of being a charity, is this film that's been made in collaboration with Sophie Clements, who's an artist, and about 50 service users and service leaders from across Sussex Partnership NHS Foundation Trust, and that's at Millview, Hellingley Centre and Langley Green. Sophie's really sorry that she can't be here today. She's actually lecturing on Zoom as well at the moment, so she couldn't join, and she's very sad about that, but she wanted to pass on how grateful and inspiring she found this collaboration, and how incredible she thought all the work that's gone into it has been. There's two elements. There's the visual element, which is made up of several thousand hand painted and hand drawn stills, and then there's the sound element, which has been made up of lots of different noises, but also some answers to some questions that that have been read by actors, and together it's made this quite moving and very thoughtful and quite powerful soundtrack that goes alongside it. We've worked with Julie before on a project at Hellingly Centre, and so we know Julie really well, and we're really grateful to Julie and Dylan and the team there, and the team at all these units who've made this really ambitious film possible. So thank you very much. And Julie, I don't know if you wanted to say a few words as well.
Yes, no, it was just such a pleasure to be involved with the film. We worked with Sophie in hospital rooms last year. Amazing project in real life, obviously before the current restrictions, and Sophie made a beautiful piece of artwork, a video, which is in one of our reception areas that still gives so much pleasure to patients and staff at the centre. And she also did a workshop, which was a short piece of animation, very similar to the film we're about to see, which was just really, really enjoyed so much by our patients. So when we were aware that Sophie was going to be inviting us to participate in this film, people were so really looking forward to taking part in it and engaged so well. And I think, you will see that it was very, very moving. I think it was an opportunity for people at the Hellingly Centre where I work, who are detained for quite long periods of time away from society under the Mental Health Act, to really tell their story. And I think an experience for people that are detained somewhere like the Hellingly Centre, which is a medium secure unit, is that their stories aren't very often heard. I think people are very used to having their stories told to them, reports written about them, and so on. But actually, I think Sophie gave them such an amazing opportunity to tell their story through art, through music, and through their words. And I think we can see the results of that in the film. It really is a beautiful piece of work.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe, Lucy, do you think now might be a nice time to show the film, and then we could talk a bit about the process?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'm going to mute myself and I'm going to try and share the screen. So just bear with us, folks, just while I click the right buttons, but do enjoy.
My daughter's my happy memory. She's 20. I've got 2 grandkids as well. My favourite place would be Brighton. It's a banging town, I love the place. What are your hopes for the future? Well, I'm in hospital at the moment. I'm doing really well. I'm about to go up onto one of the low secure wards, so I have to stay out of hospital. I think for me it's for the best, you know. I've had a few troubles in the past, but I managed to stay out, so I think being out is what's important for me.
My happiest moment was when I was with my horse Lily and riding her to the top of the hill to see all over the sea and riding her back down the hill again. So, favourite place from my life? It has to be the South Downs where I used to run. I used to run every day for 3 hours. I hope to finish my Masters in Architecture, probably at Brighton University.
I had a dog, it was a golden retriever, and we used to go for walks in the forest near the house, like a couple of fields away, and there was a semi-ancient forest with some beautiful trees, and it had a brook running through it. So it was a really lovely place to be in the summer, with all the leaves really green, and I have fond memories of that forest because being in that space, I could sit and meditate for the first time in a long time. And I found some peace of mind having spent time in that forest. I think it'd be nice to go back there one day just to remember. When I'm out of hospital, I think I'm going to do lots of adventuring and find some new inspiring places.
My favorite place is Padua. It reminds the years when studying at the university. Easy riding a bicycle because it is a flat plain land. Close to Venice, famous tourist attraction for all over the world. Another thing is that it's close to the Dolomites, famous for the skiing resort and climbing.
My hopes for the future are to have good health, to study the skills necessary to be a designer of computer games, and to start my own company in gaming. I also want to be surrounded by friends and people whose company I enjoy, and maybe if it all goes well, to share my life with someone who's kind, caring and understanding.
Spain last year. I was out of hospital, believe it or not, which is a wonderful thing in itself. But I was at the karaoke bar called the Bora Bora, and the atmosphere was electric. Not just because I was singing, but everyone went up and had a go. And half of them were a little bit inebriated, to say the least. But everyone got on with everyone, which is quite a rare thing, I suppose. People came from all walks of life and introduced themselves, and it was a little oasis of happiness. And that's been my fondest memory, and it will stay with me for many years to come. My plans and hopes for the future would be to still my mind, instead of this eternal sea of troubles that has been prevalent for so long. I'd like to bring it to some sort of equilibrium. And I find that when I'm in the balance, I'm a lot luckier in life. I don't have these peaks and troughs, and I look forward to the future whereby I can socialise and meet people without being too manic or depressed. After not having the right or wrong feeling after or before, or pretending who I am or who I'm not, and being myself could find this peace, and I hope that you can find it too.
What am I going to do with my future? Oh man, I don't know. Hopefully it looks bright. I'm not sure. I've been locked up 20 years since I was 17. But hopefully bright things, and I'll keep believing and God hoping that I'll find a better day.
Wow. I mean, I must have seen that about 12 times, and it never loses its power. I mean, it's funny because the idea for A Better Day came from a painting on film workshop that Sophie did last year when she was doing the project at Hellingway Centre, and it was a one-day workshop where people from all the 4 wards there made a few frames each, and they recorded a few sounds, and they put it together, and it felt like such a nice animation. I mean, do you want to talk a bit about that, Julie? I mean, you were there for the whole day as well.
Yeah, so as Tim was saying, last year, when we had the amazing hospital rooms project at the Hellingway Centre, Sophie did the animation on all 4 wards. That we were in a very different place then, obviously, and we were able to bring everybody together for the screening of that film, and it was just so powerful for people. I mean, people absolutely loved it and felt very heard by Sophie and the film, and very much a part of something. And so they were really delighted that we were going to be working with Sophie again to do this film. The uptake was amazing. It was much more, well, there was different challenges because we're not able to come together as a community at the Hellingway Centre anymore because of COVID restrictions. So the actual making of the film was quite tricky because we have very strict limits on how many patients we can get together to do. We're not supposed to be doing groups at all. So we had to get special permission from, management to have the workshops. And so we had to have a series of lots of small workshops to make the film. I was responsible for doing the visual art, so painting the frames, which was lovely. We had some great kind of sessions doing that, and people really, really enjoyed it. And then my colleague Dylan Hibbert, who is a musician and responsible for bringing kind of music to the service users at Hellingway, worked on the sounds, which I just think are incredible. I mean, just listening to the sounds today, just aware of these are the backgrounds to people's lives at the Hellingway Centre. and just that sense of the echoing, the alarms, the phones, how kind of abrasive they are. So Dylan had a series of workshops with patients, again in very small numbers, to do the voice recording and the sounds. And then, as we've seen, Sophie put this together in such a beautiful film. We had a screening yesterday. Dylan and I had we projected the film onto a big screen, and we used the biggest group room. But again, we could only bring patients up in groups of 2. So instead of what we would have done, as we did last year, would be to have to bring everybody together as a community, to have some drinks and some snacks, to make a real event of it. But obviously we weren't able to do that. We're hoping to do that at a later day, but we showed everybody that participated in the film were able to see it yesterday. And, the response was incredible. They felt so, they were so impressed by the film, and so proud of their voice and their story, their stories, their past, their hopes for the future, their experiences being brought into the film in this way. So it's been an absolutely lovely project to be part of at the Heading Eye Centre.
Yeah, and I mean it's been nice as well that we could work with Millview and Langley Green too, and it feels like a real big collaborative project in the end. I know it was originally only going to be a sort of 3 to 5 minute film, but there was so much good footage that Sophie didn't want to waste any of it. Lucy, I don't suppose you could. We've got a few images that might be nice to share now, if that's possible.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Let me give it a whirl. Hang on a sec. Right, here we go. Just let me know, Tim, when you want me to click through to the
Sure.
next one.
Well, I thought it might be quite nice just to show just a few stills of Sophie doing some examples to show how the painting on film could work. So at the beginning of the project, Sophie did several, I guess you call them workshops or tutorials over Zoom for all 3 of the units. And so she spent a whole day doing examples of how we could do painting on film. And I think what's interesting about painting on film is you don't make it in the same way as you would a normal animation. You're not making lots of different single cells. She wanted people to use a whole strip of cells. So that's 24 cells in a sheet that are marked off a bit like this. And that makes 2 seconds. So every second you've got 12 frames. But the idea is to make something really gestural and expressionistic on it. And that looks really brilliant when it's animated. So rather than just doing painting or scribbling, she wanted to show lots of different techniques. This was one of them where she was flicking ink. And I think some people did some of that, and that's some of the effects that are at the very beginning of the film. Lucy, you able to flick to the next slide, please? Another way is to draw on them. So, and some people did do some really nice little animations that are more traditional, but some people followed Sophie's lead and did work their way down this whole strip of cells. And most people had 5 sheets, which made about 10 seconds. So there could be a bit of a progression, sort of twists can become bigger and smaller. And then that sort of makes this kind of nice pulsating feel to the film. Can we see the next slide as well, please? And then once we've got all these cells, and you'll see the ones that Sophie's got there, there's a mixture of stickers that have been stuck on. Some people put glitter on it. Some people put collage and bits of maps. And the one she's got in her hand is someone's done lots of different symbols that have been drawn. She set up a camera that was focused on each cell. There was masking tape, so it was all quite cleverly done. And then she'd take an image and it would be moved 1 cell along. So this was done for all I'm not sure how many thousands of cells there were, but this was done for every single one. And then that was loaded into her computer. So she'd ended up with all this work that she could use. And she says the most amazing part of it is that first moment when you just press play with what you've got. Nothing's been edited, but you just see several minutes of this kind of blur of amazing colors and shapes. Are there any more? Could you skip to the next one, Lucy? I'm not sure if there's many more. and this is her pointing out how she's in a very analog way, marked off the screen. So the red lines that you see running along the tops and bottoms is actually thread she's taped to the screen, but it's a way of her making sure she's registering each frame properly. So it's a very Sophie way of doing things with bits of tape and thread and things like that, but it always works. I think that's fine, Lucy. Thank you. We can leave this. Well, you can see there's some nice stills of Sophie at work as we were doing some of the trials. So, I mean, the great thing was Sophie had this amazing, sort of a whole catalogue of all these images that she could use, and she wanted a really good soundtrack to go with it. And it was going to be quite a simple thing, but actually when Dylan worked with so many of the people at Hellingley Centre, the sounds that came back were really interesting. It was shutters opening and closing, it was keys jangling, music on the background, steps. And what she found was that there was a lot of rhythms that were coming from, there was lots of different rhythms there. And when they put them all together, it actually formed quite a nice beat. And it kind of gave this kind of driving rhythm that went through the whole of the film. And we ended up putting a bit more sort of funding into the project so that she could work with someone to compose all this music. And in the end, we wanted it to be something really professional. As I got to this point, we've got a few questions that are for you, Julie, if that's all right. One is it when you screened the film for the first time, what was the responses from the service users involved?
Oh, they were just really blown away by it, actually, just very impressed by the quality and the professionalism of the film to start with. And, very kind of like pleased to see their images. They recognize their images, they recognize their voices, they recognize the sound. So just to see their experience of their life on the Hellingley Centre, but their kind of life on the externally, the noises that they live with every day, the environment they're in, but also their kind of inner experiences of people talking about some really lovely memories from the past and some hopes from the future. And every time I've seen it, I've been really aware of how people were very honest and brave and really did talk about some very personal kind of experiences, which isn't always easy to do. But seeing how those had been honoured in the film and how they had been sort of put together with the visual aspect of the film, yes, people were just really, really moved and incredibly proud to have been a part of it.
I mean, I think it's really important to watch it again. So I'd suggest watching it on Vimeo again, because even though the sounds and the imagery were made totally separately, there's so much thought by Sophie that's gone into editing them together. The more you watch it, you realize actually they're kind of, there's a bit at the beginning, you'll see at the end, and there's sort of some really hopeful imagery that comes up with some of the hopeful sentiments from the people who are speaking as well. I mean, was that kind of picked up on in the screenings at all?
Yeah, it was very much so. I think people were kind of really aware of, as I was, just how much material Sophie had. I mean, we gave, because we had a huge response at Hellingley, and I know at Langley Green and Millview as well, that, there was a huge, Sophie was just given a vast amount of material, and the way she's kind of curated it and brought it together is kind of really incredible, and people did pick up on that. And every time I think, I totally agree, Tim, about watching it again. I've seen it quite a few times now, and every time I see it, I see something new in it, which is lovely.
And it's nice. Someone said, the sounds and visuals remind me of being in a nightclub. Love it. So I think there's something quite cool about that it, I don't know, that some keys and footsteps can become something that's really rhythmic and drives the visuals forward. Someone's asked what some of the sounds are, and I know I mentioned a few, but what I love is that kind of weird sort of squeaking, tonal pitch sound that keeps coming along, and I think that's the shutter coming up in the Twitten shop, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's really strange, kind of, you know, listening, because I work there. I hear these sounds every day, and you know, I don't notice them, but actually hearing them on the film, I just thought, oh yes, that's the shutter. We've got a patient shop that's open every day. That's a really important part of people's lives at the centre, and it's got a very, very squeaky shutter that opens and closes. And it's just one of those sounds that's just in the background of people's life. And I was aware, actually, watching the film, of just how grating and harsh a lot of the sounds are. We've got alarms. It's a nice environment. It's an awful lot nicer since we've had the hospital rooms project. It's not as clinical as it was, but it's still a very clinical hospital. And it's a very modern building, and it can be quite stark. And the sounds, I think, really kind of reflect that as well. But there was something about having all the colour and the vibrancy of the film, of the visual aspect of the film, and people's voices, which is in such a contrast to the kind of clinical kind of environment. So that really struck me.
I mean, I think it's something we hear quite a lot, is that you know, everyone becomes quite institutionalized, and I suppose it's easier sometimes for staff to become institutionalized and think that a white wall or a beep or you know, the jangling of keys is normal, and that's just the way it is. But actually, especially if you're, you know, you might be a section for the first time or becoming an inpatient for the first time, it's probably those things are very they're very particular to that kind of space. And maybe it's something that maybe this film could draw people's attention to that a bit.
I think that's so true, Tim. I think as staff, we get really immune. I mean, I remember when I first started working there, the fire alarms go off on a Monday morning, and they're horrible and they're very alarming. And if you don't know that it goes off at the same time every Monday morning, you would be really concerned about it. And it's something we forget to tell people about when they come into the centre, that there are these noises. We don't really explain what they are. And I think you're absolutely right. I think, as you know, staff become quite immune to them, quite institutionalized as well in the environment.
Yeah, and someone's actually said here, the sounds are so familiar in lots of spaces and hospitals and schools. It made it feel familiar wherever you are, whatever your experience. And I think that they're all institutions, aren't they? They're all places where they're not homes, I suppose, are they? But at the same time, that's quite a difficult thing to say. If your stay might be for a very long time, if it's in the years, then that's maybe it is partly your home.
Yeah. I mean, that's interesting, because that was, I think, when we had the Hospital Rooms project last year, that was when we had a series of interviews with service users at the end of the project. That was the feedback that we had from quite a few patients, that you know, the artist coming into our kind of, this is our home. These environments are really important. And I know at the Hellingway Centre, the average stay is about 2 years. So, and for some people, it's a lot longer than that. So it is somebody's home environment, and it's just so important that we recognise how important that environment is to people. And this very clinical, cold, institutional space affects people's mood and their well-being and their mental health.
Yeah, I mean, some of the sentiments or ideas or things that were said were, you know, they were quite sort of pertinent right now to everyone. You know, there's one line that's something about, you know, I hope for a day where I could meet people and socialize again. And it's, I suppose, whether you're an inpatient or not, right now people understand that a bit more. Maybe there's some sort of group empathy there. And I wonder what you think, you know, what you thought about some of the words, and whether you were quite surprised by anything.
I was really moved by the words, actually, and no matter how often I listen to the film, I still feel a tear coming to my eye, actually, with some of the words. I think it was incredibly moving, and it just kind of made me think about how important it is to kind of see that, you know, the person in the patient, and to realize that everybody comes with their own story, with their memories, with their hopes, with their dreams, hopes for the future, but also just how important those connections are with each other, with people, and how important it is to keep service users that are detained connected to the world. And I think that's something that Hospital Rooms was so important. You know, that's what hospital rooms do so well. It's kind of bringing the world back into hospitals and helping people reconnect with the world outside as well. I know when we had the interviews after the In Real Life project, that was the feedback that came across again and again, that although people absolutely loved the brilliant artwork that was transforming their environment and they loved taking part in the workshops, what they found the most kind of exciting and the thing that really stayed with them was these people, artists, coming in from the outside and being interested in them as people, being interested in their lives, their thoughts, their creativity, and that the feedback again and again was about how valuable people found that.
And actually, I've been lucky enough to go to Millview as well before lockdown and meet a lot of people there. Sadly, I haven't been to Langley Green yet, but there is, I mean, there's the NHS is such a big place, big employer, but from Sussex, I've seen it's a very kind of warm. There's a lot of warmth in these places, I think, and that kind of radiates, and it's part of why this, Make for Tomorrow as well has been such an enjoyable project for us. I've had a couple of really good questions come in, and one is, it feels like a really optimistic film, much needed at the moment. People really shared very personal thoughts in the film. How was that facilitated so that they felt comfortable to share so openly? And I mean, it was great to hear how you managed to do that.
I mean, I wasn't involved in the interview, so that was Dylan Hibbert, who's not here. And I would say a lot of that comes from the great relationship he's got with the patients. He's worked at the Hellingway Centre for a long time. He makes music with patients. He's a very warm individual. So I think it's about the relationship that staff have with patients and patients feeling kind of like connected enough with that member of staff and safe enough to kind of be honest and share their thoughts and feelings. And it's interesting that you say that about hospitals in Sussex being quite warm and friendly, because I really do think that that's something that is important at Hellingway, and that staff are very committed to facilitating those kind of warm relationships. And we get to know people there because people do stay for a long time. We do form real relationships with the patients, and we do know people. And so I think, it's just feeling safe enough to share those things with a member of staff that they've already got a relationship with.
Yeah, I mean, they're warm because of the people, I think, but they've got a lot of the problems that everywhere else has, which is that often the environments and the sounds and all those things that have kind of been brought up in this film aren't necessarily as caring as the people. And maybe that's something we're very interested in, but to be honest, the people come first, and I think that's what really stood out for us.
And
I mean, oh, sorry, Julie.
I was just going to say that, feedback we have from patients again and again when we kind of towards the end of people's admissions, and we ask them about their kind of experience, and there's a lot of move to really hear people's experience. The thing that always comes across is the relationships with staff, and people recognise it's the environment's an institution and it's not great, but actually people kind of accept that and recognise that is, it is the way that it is. But it's the relationships with staff that I think is so valuable for people, and people bring up with us, mention to us all the time.
Yeah, well, and we had a question, which is why both of us think art is so important for mental health. And you're an artist yourself, so you've probably got your own thoughts on that, but you're also an art therapist working in mental health and in the prison service.
So I also work in prison. I mean, I just think art is, I think there is more and more research coming out now about the links between art and wellbeing. And I think during the kind of whole COVID lockdown, people are making more art and realizing it's so important. But I think for, service users in places like the Hellingway Centre, and I work on the healthcare wing at Lewes Prison, art is just a way of kind of sharing thoughts and feelings that you often can't find the words for. You might not even know yourself what you're experiencing. And art is just a way of just getting things out, sharing yourself, really connecting with yourself and communicating with other people.
I mean, I couldn't put it any better than that. But I think art is also essential. It's essential. It's not necessarily the frilly part on top. It's something that we all, we're kind of born with a need to make things, and from the moment we're born, we want to make a sculpture out of something, and sometimes it gets knocked out of us, and sometimes being able to experience it or create it or be a part of it brings us back to something that's very innate in us. But also what we found with working on all our projects, but Helling Lie is a great example, is it's not all about making something easy. It's not just a beautiful tree, it's also something that's a bit challenging and that starts a new conversation and also breaks down some barriers as well. And I love some of the moments where you'll have a group of people in a room who would never otherwise hang out, and they'll all make something together, and they'll have a conversation that we've heard the words with collective intelligence, and there's so much intelligence that we see shared, and I think sometimes art is the thing that can bring that out in people. We've had some really nice comments about the film. Wow, what an amazing process. We love the film, congratulations. And someone else saying incredible painting on film, well done to everyone, and thanks for sharing. I think Sophie made a really lovely video to be shown before the screenings at Millview Langley Green and Helling Lie Centre that said thank you to everyone involved and how much she's enjoyed working on it. But I think I should share from her how amazed she was when she got back all these sort of thousands of cells and the sounds. I think it became a much bigger project than she expected, and for someone so busy, she's still dedicated a lot of extra time and brought in Joe Wills to help her with the sound because it deserved it. And I think it would have, I didn't make it at all, but I feel very proud to have been involved in it in some very small way, because I think what it is a bit of a masterpiece, and I think it needs to be shared. And in some ways, as an artwork, it does more than a description. It's it's very positive and it's enjoyable to watch, but also there's some ideas in there that I think we should all stop and think about. I know we've got another conversation happening this afternoon that you're chairing, Julie, with Rupert Friend and Richard, and it might be mentioned, but one thing I find really interesting is someone said at the moment it feels like the car's been driving full pelt, and the world's stopped the car and said look out the window. And there's some really sort of thoughtful ideas I think that are included in this film that sort of hint at that too. I think we're coming towards the end now. Is there anything else, Julie, you wanted to say? I mean, was there any responses that were really interesting that you found?
Oh, I mean, I think people's initial response, people have the guys at Helling Lie, I've only seen it once, and I've had the pleasure of seeing it many times, and I think their initial response was just kind of, wow, this is amazing, and real pride that they were able to participate in it. I think they really want to share it, so we need to think about how we share it, how they get to see it again, how they share it with the staff team, the people that they're working with every day, but also their kind of families as well, and the outside world. And I think as they see it more, like I did, they will see more in it and just continue to feel so proud of it. So I think it's great that we've got this far, but I think there's, like you're saying, Tim, it really deserves to be shown to a much wider audience, and certainly at Helling Lie we need to think about how we do that, so we kind of really honour the patients that were in it, and also Sophie, who's made such a beautiful film.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
I mean,
I couldn't agree more. Sorry, Tim. Sorry.
No, I was going to say thank you.
I mean, I couldn't agree more, Julie. And watch this space, people, because, well, obviously the film is on the Make Your Mark website, so do go and there's a little, if you hover over the Make for Tomorrow tab, there's a page directly dedicated to the film, so do go and have a watch, and if you've listened to it this morning without headphones, if you can, put some headphones on or plug it into a decent speaker, because it does kind of give it another kind of depth and element to the experience of seeing it. But yeah, I just want to say a massive thank you. And do you know what, Julie, when you said about getting a tear in your eye, I mean, obviously, because we're in these sort of working remotely, I don't know any of the people who've contributed to this film, but it's true. I've watched it several times now, and the same. I got really, it is just so moving, and we get such a sense of the generosity of people's creativity and their words, and there's something so special about that. Is it all right? I just texted Charlotte, who also is working on Make You Up, because she picked out this really beautiful quote from the film. For me, it felt like this summed it up. So it says, it's just a little section of the audio. It says, after not having the right or wrong feelings, after or before, or pretending to be who I am or who I'm not, and being myself, coming across as a genuine individual, which I hope I do today. I wish I can find this peace, and I hope that you can find it too. I just think that's there's such a generosity. For me, that was something that really struck me about the film. It was said so gently, but there's such a generosity about this kind of collective sharing. And incredibly beautiful. And even from the sidelines, I feel really privileged to have been witness the kind of coming together and making of it. Absolutely fantastic. And thank you. We've just had one more comment in capital letters come in saying beautiful, which is really nice. But I just want to say a massive thank you, Tim and Julie, this morning. And I think it's always really nice to hear from the people who've been part of making a piece of artwork. And for Tim, obviously for Hospital Rooms, but also representing Sophie, and Julie, you representing the community there at Hellingley. And just want to say a massive shout out to Millview and Langley Green. They were crazy busy this morning, the teams there, so they unfortunately couldn't join us. But we do just want to name check them again, because it has been a bit of a mission doing it like all remotely, but something wonderful has come out of those efforts. And yes, we want to I just want to say a massive thank you. And for those of you that are tuning in, wherever you are, whether you're in an office, at home, in a hospital ward, thanks so much for being here this morning. It's been such a pleasure to hear both of you speak about the film. It's really kind of given another element to how it's come to life. So we really appreciate it. Is there any, Tim, Julie, you got any other last little final comments before we say farewell for this morning's session?
I guess we'll look forward to seeing you.
Okay.
We'll look forward.
Definitely. So people, please do. So please do come back this afternoon, those of you that are watching this morning. So we have got this amazing, let me just do click and someone's trying to call me. We've got this a really exciting event this afternoon, and it is the finale, the final event of the festival. So if you can, do please join us at 1:30. Julie will be back again with us, which is really great. Thank you, Julie, for giving so much of your time today. And she'll be chairing a conversation with the artist Richard Wentworth and also the actor Rupert Friend. Richard has already been having conversations with various folk at Hellingley, and he'll bring those elements of those conversations to this chat this afternoon. But trust me, people, they are three extraordinary individuals. So we just know that this conversation is going to be mind-bendingly, provokingly brilliant, and it will be just great if you can be there. And again, like all of our sessions, it's interactive, so you can join in the chat and tell us what you think as they're having this conversation. So hopefully see you there. But thanks so much, Tim, thanks so much, Julie, and a massive thank you, Langley Green, Millview, Hellingley, Sophie, completely amazing. But we'll see you this afternoon. Okay, bye all.
Bye-bye.